Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a mountain of insightful source material and deliver the fundamental truths and the mechanisms you need to expand your knowledge.
And today, expand your expectations.
Yes, exactly. We are launching into one of the, I think, most foundational texts in the world of personal achievement.
Absolutely.
We're focusing entirely on the mindset required to actually achieve your biggest ambitions.
It's the perfect deep dive for anyone looking to scale up their results. We are pulling critical excerpts from the core philosophy of David Schwartz's influential work, The Magic of Thinking Big.
And our mission for you, as always, is to quickly extract those core principles.
And to understand the underlying mechanics of success, not just the surface level advice.
Right. And that brings us to the fundamental question Schwartz tackles right away. What truly separates the people who achieve these enormous dreams from those who only ever sort of wish for them?
It's the big question.
It is. You look around, and it's so easy to assume the outliers must have some rare, innate, gift-better talent, a privileged background, or
Just sheer dumb luck.
Exactly.
And that is precisely the assumption that Schwartz argues against.
Because if you default to luck or talent,
it removes your agency. Completely. The bedrock of this whole philosophy is that the single greatest separator is not what you possess, but what you believe.
Okay, belief itself.
Yes. It's a quiet, powerful conviction that you are fundamentally capable of taking on great challenges and succeeding.
So that belief, not the talent, is the necessary engine.
It's the engine for every single large-scale achievement.
Okay, let's unpack this core idea immediately because it dictates this entire deep dive, doesn't it?
It really does.
If belief is the primary driver, then the problem of underachievement is, well, it's essentially a self-imposed limitation problem.
It is. The sources are definitive on this. We act not according to what is actually achievable out there in the world,
but according to what we believe is possible.
For us specifically.
Right.
It's a closed-loop system. If you start from a premise of limitation, if you internalize this small view of yourself, you will, without fail, restrict your actions.
So you think small.
You act cautiously, you set safe goals, and your effort perfectly matches that low expectation.
And the opposite is true.
When you choose to think big, you naturally expand your effort, you act boldly, and your results scale accordingly. Our outcomes are, they're just reflections of our expectations.
So the mission for you, the listener, is not just to absorb some generalized self-help ideas.
No.
It's to identify the practical steps Schwartz prescribes to kind of restructure your thought process.
And translate those big thoughts into tangible, real-world results. We are hunting for the mechanisms of psychological engineering that make this change possible.
And the biggest enemy in this whole pursuit.
The inner critic.
That immediate reflexive voice that whispers, you're being unrealistic, or you're not ready, not smart enough.
Not connected enough.
Yeah.
All of it. And Schwartz is so emphatic about this. That voice is not reality checking.
What is it then?
It is fear disguised as realism. It uses logical-sounding justifications to protect you from the possibility of discomfort or failure.
Thereby guaranteeing you never achieve anything exceptional.
Exactly. It keeps you safe and small.
All right, let's start with the engine room then.
Yeah.
The self-fulfilling prophecy of belief. We hear that term a lot.
We do.
But how does Schwartz explain the actual mechanism at work when a person shifts from, say, passive hope to genuine, powerful belief?
What's truly fascinating is the immediate, non-abstract change it causes. It's not just a feeling.
Okay.
When you deeply accept the idea that you can accomplish a goal, whether it's launching a complex product, mastering a skill,
or taking on a huge leadership role.
Right. Your internal state undergoes an immediate systemic change.
Like what specifically? What's happening inside the brain when that belief clicks on?
Two things happen right away. First, your energy rises. And this isn't just, excitement. It's a genuine commitment of mental and emotional resources. Second, your focus sharpens dramatically. Your mind stops wasting energy dwelling on failure scenarios or manufacturing excuses. Instead, your brain's internal filter, the reticular activating system, it starts actively looking for relevant information.
For resources, connections.
Exactly, for things to solve the problem.
It's the difference between asking, why me? And asking, what are the 3 most immediate steps I can take?
Absolutely. If the search query in your brain is, why can't I do this? It's going to deliver a massive list of reasons, evidence, and excuses.
But if the query is, how can I make this work?
Your brain is instantly reoriented towards solution seeking. It's a fundamental, immediate, and unconscious behavioral pivot toward action.
Wow. Okay.
And that energy shift is externally magnetic. That's a crucial insight for you, the listener. Belief isn't just internal.
It's contagious.
It is. When you radiate confidence, your commitment and your preparation become visible. Others, investors, colleagues, potential partners, they start responding to that confidence.
So they begin to believe in your project and your ability.
Because they can see, hear, and feel that you already believe in yourself.
But let's be realistic for a second. We can't just flip a switch.
Yeah.
Right? What if doubt is loud, or if the goal just feels overwhelming?
The sources have a strategy for that, for building belief when you don't naturally have it.
What's the method?
It's counterintuitive. You don't start by taking on the biggest doubt. You start small.
How small?
By catching limiting thoughts in the act. Whenever a self-defeating statement pops up in your head, I can't afford that, or I'm not articulate enough, you have to make a critical, simple language shift.
Which is?
You replace, I can't do this, with the immediate question, how can I make this work?
That reframing that's really potent.
It is.
It's a technique that breaks the paralysis loop by forcing yourself to generate a solution, even if it's imperfect or requires resources you don't have yet.
You are actively training your brain to reject limitation as the final answer. You're training it to be creative.
And this commitment to possibility, this then sets the stage for the next technique.
Visualization. And Schwartz insists this is not abstract daydreaming.
Right.
It's about making successful outcome real for the mind through vivid emotional detail.
Vivid emotional detail. That phrase really sticks with you. It's not enough to just picture a new office.
No, you have to feel the texture of the desk, smell the coffee, feel the relief and the pride of having finished that complex project.
Or imagine the physical sensation of signing the final contract.
The more sensory and emotionally rich the picture, the more readily the mind accepts it as an inevitability rather than just a fantasy.
So it's like a pre-run simulation.
Exactly. By rehearsing success emotionally, you reduce the psychological resistance and the shock of the actual attempt. Your mind says, we've been here before, we know this feeling of accomplishment.
That leads to a necessary clarification, though, distinguishing between genuine self-confidence and just, arrogance or bravado.
A very important distinction.
How does Schwartz make that clear?
Confidence in this context is not the arrogant claim that you already have all the answers.
Or the most impressive resume.
Right. It is a quiet, resilient assurance. It's the belief that while you may encounter obstacles, you have the internal resources and adaptability to learn, grow, and figure things out along the way.
So it's a focus on future capability, not present perfection.
Yes. So the big thinkers aren't walking into the room claiming to be omniscient. They're walking in with the internal certainty that they are adaptable enough to meet the challenge, whatever unknown elements it might contain.
They don't have it figured out.
They just believe they will find a way.
And they usually do.
Because that belief fuels the persistent solution-oriented action required. And this is the bedrock conclusion of this section. Belief doesn't follow success.
Success follows belief.
You have to install that conviction before you see the results. And that internal faith is what sets the entire external world in motion toward your goal.
This is where the concept truly impacts our daily reality, with the idea of invisible walls. Schwartz suggests most people live their entire lives inside walls, constructed solely by their own thoughts.
They keep their ambitions safe and small, largely because society, and often their own inner voice, told them to be realistic.
That phrase, be realistic, it's kind of a polite social mechanism for keeping ambition manageable, isn't it?
It is. The sources argue that what we often define as realistic is simply a euphemism for limited.
So thinking big isn't about ignoring constraints.
No, it's about systematically challenging the assumed boundaries of your reality.
How does that internalized realism manifest, and how does thinking big, dismantle it?
Realism manifests as inertia. For instance, if you grew up believing that people from your background don't start businesses, that internalized rule becomes an invisible wall.
And you stop generating ideas that contradict it.
Exactly. Thinking big actively questions that wall. It asks, why is this wall here? Who built it? And crucially, what evidence do I have that it is solid?
So thinking big pushes you into territories, challenges, and opportunities that the realistic thinker never even attempts to see, let alone reach.
Schwartz is making an uncompromising statement here.
Which is,
the scope of your success will be irrevocably determined by the scope of your thinking. If your internal dialogue asks, how can I just get by? You achieve precisely that.
but if you ask, What is the absolute maximum I am capable of achieving here?
You start exploring the maximum.
And you just have to look at history.
Every pivotal movement, every transformative innovation, from the mass production of the automobile to global communications networks, it all began as a thought that was likely labeled unrealistic.
By many contemporary critics, for sure.
Big thinkers are simply those who possess the courage to prioritize possibility over pervasive limitation. They challenge the invisible walls by refusing to let small thoughts dictate their future.
Okay, so if belief is the foundation, then fear and the excuses that come from it are the psychological termites.
That's a great way to put it, steadily undermining the structure.
Right. You could be the most talented person in the room, but if fear is in control, all that talent and ambition is just wasted on inertia.
And this section is so vital because Schwartz gives this tendency a name.
Excusitis, a mental disease.
A mental disease. It's so insidious because excuses rarely sound like crazy ramblings. They sound perfectly logical, highly rational, and often very sympathetic.
They are brilliant defense mechanisms designed to protect the ego from the discomfort of effort or the sting of failure.
Exactly.
So let's break down these common strains of excusitis in detail, because recognizing the specific form of the excuse is the first step toward the cure, right?
It is. We begin with health excusitis. This is the subtle but powerful narrative that says, I'd love to pursue that massive goal, but my energy isn't quite right today.
Or I need to wait until I'm feeling 100%.
And we have to acknowledge that legitimate health concerns are real.
Of course.
But excusitis leverages minor physical issues or even just simple generalized fatigue as an all-purpose shield. It allows us to retreat from difficult, necessary actions.
So Schwartz advises listeners to be aware of the tendency to use the body as an excuse for the mind's reluctance.
Right. The mind often creates the symptoms it needs to justify inaction. The cure here isn't to ignore your health, but to refuse to let minor issues or the pursuit of a hypothetical perfect state prevent you from starting.
You have to ask yourself, can I do this now imperfectly?
Precisely.
Next up is the chronological trap, age excusitis. This excuse is so effective because it uses the calendar as an unassailable barrier.
And it manifests in two contradictory forms. The young person says, I'm too young to start. Nobody will take me seriously. I lack the necessary experience.
Which is a fear of incompetence.
And the older person says, I'm too old to change. My time has passed. It's too late to learn that new skill.
A fear of effort and irrelevance.
The power of this excuse is that it bypasses the need for effort in the present moment by outsourcing the problem to the past or the future.
But when you look at successful people, age is often totally irrelevant. Colonel Sanders started KFC in his 60s.
And so many entrepreneurs start major companies in their teens. The counter principle here is to leverage your current state.
If you're young, leverage your energy and adaptability.
And if you are older, leverage your accumulated wisdom, your connections, and your strategic insight. Stop seeing your age as a deficit and start viewing it as a specific set of tools and advantages you possess right now.
Okay, then we tackle the internal devaluation, intelligence excusitis.
I'm simply not smart enough for that complex career path, or I don't have the intellectual firepower to compete.
This one feels like maybe the most damaging excuse because it preemptively limits your effort.
It does. If you genuinely believe you lack the mental capacity, why would you even bother trying to learn complex subjects?
Right.
Schwartz challenges the entire premise that raw innate IQ is the ultimate predictor of success.
So how does he frame the role of intellect in thinking big?
He emphasizes that big challenges require immense diligence, strategy, creativity, and the ability to rally resources, far more than just raw processing power.
So the big thinker, as we established, doesn't need to be the smartest person in the room.
They need to believe they can learn what they need to know or hire the intelligence they lack.
So the cure for this strain is to shift from judging your innate intellect to judging your willingness to apply strategy and effort.
Exactly.
And finally, the externalizer, which robs us of all agency. Luck excusitis.
Some people are just lucky. Success is purely random, and I wasn't born under a lucky star.
This one is so deeply comforting to the ego, isn't it?
It is, because it means failure isn't your fault, but it's deadly to ambition. It ensures you never prepare for opportunity because you believe the results are predetermined by fate.
When Schwartz reminds us that luck is often just the collision of preparedness and opportunity.
Right. So if you feel unlucky, it often means you haven't been preparing diligently enough, or you haven't put yourself in enough high-risk, high-reward situations where luck is allowed to strike.
You can't catch the wave if you never paddle out into the ocean.
These excuses all thrive on comfort and inertia. They protect us from failure and risk. But the cure for all of them,
As you hinted earlier.
is the same single-word intervention: action.
But how do we bridge that gap?
Yeah.
We know everyone feels fear. The most successful leaders still battle nerves before a major speech. What's the mechanism they use to move forward anyway?
They acknowledge the fear, but they refuse to let it sit in the driver's seat.
Because the longer you wait for fear to disappear,
The stronger it grows because it's being reinforced by inaction. The moment you take a step, any step, your confidence begins to grow and the fear begins to shrink.
it's an immediate positive feedback loop.
It is.
I think the most powerful mechanism Schwartz offers for overriding that deep fear circuit is the self-check.
Yes.
Our brains are naturally wired toward identifying threat. The negativity bias is an evolutionary tool. How do we counter that?
By subjecting our excuses to relentless scrutiny. The moment you hear that inner voice rationalize why you should wait or why it's impossible, you have to catch yourself.
And ask,
Yes.
is this fact or fear?
Is this fact or fear? And most often you'll find it's raw anxiety wearing the convincing mask of logic.
That distinction, fact versus fear, is the difference between an honest risk assessment and pure self-sabotage.
Once you correctly identify the excuse as fear, you strip it of its power to paralyze you.
And that leads to the critical mindset shift. Training your brain to expect positive outcomes.
Instead of perpetually running the mental simulation of what if I fail, which your brain naturally gravitates toward, the source demands you deliberately visualize.
What if I succeed?
Yes. Focus on the benefits of achievement, the growth, the pride.
That intentional visualization of success is key. It literally reprograms the expectation in your mind, training it to seek out the positive result.
And it reduces the emotional cost of starting.
The powerful analogy here is that fear shrinks when faced.
And excuses only vanish when they're replaced by sustained, deliberate action.
Right. Nobody ever built a big life by waiting in the parking lot until all the fear was gone.
You have to walk straight through the fear to prove to yourself that it never had power over you in the first place.
So we've diagnosed the internal blocks. Now we move to the solution, action. This section tackles what I call the confidence paradox. We feel we need confidence to act, but Schwartz argues we need action to gain confidence.
That paradox is the single biggest stumbling block for so many high-achieving people.
How so?
They wait on the sidelines, trying to think their way into confidence, believing it's some innate trait or a magical feeling that arrives before the work begins.
And Schwartz flips this entirely.
Completely. Confidence is not a prerequisite, it is a result. It's something you actively build, brick by painful brick.
The rule is simple, even a little brutal. Act before you feel ready.
The sources are so clear on this. Action cures fear. The more you voluntarily subject yourself to challenge, the more confident you become.
Because you're generating undeniable evidence of your capability.
Exactly. And conversely, the less you do, the more doubt expands to fill the vacuum.
Just think about the most common fears. Public speaking, driving, starting a new job. Initially, those activities are terrifying because they're shrouded in uncertainty. But once you start doing them, even poorly, the fear rapidly fades.
It does. Why? Because experience replaces uncertainty with evidence.
So you move from the abstract fear of, what if I crash, to the concrete knowledge of, I survived parallel parking.
Exactly. Every failure you learn from, every small attempt, every minor success, they are all data points.
They're proof that you are resilient.
Right. Confidence isn't built by avoiding challenge. It's built from those small, accumulated wins, not by waiting for some perfect, fear-free moment that will literally never arrive.
Confidence is like a muscle.
It strengthens only with consistent, uncomfortable use.
Yeah.
The more you intentionally step into situations that cause that little tremor of discomfort.
The more normalized it becomes to handle challenges that once felt insurmountable.
That discomfort is the signal that growth is occurring.
So how do we operationalize this? The practical steps in the sources are focused on consistency and micro steps.
Creating what we can call the confidence bank.
The confidence bank. I like that. The goal is progress over perfection.
Right. Don't aim for immediate mastery. If your ultimate goal is to launch a major product line, start by researching one competitor this week.
If public speaking makes you physically sick, make it your goal to speak up and contribute one meaningful thought in your next team meeting.
Each of those tiny, deliberate acts, even the terrifying ones, is a deposit in your confidence bank. You're accumulating capital in the form of empirical evidence of your resilience.
The account grows through constant usage and investment, not through hoarding.
And here's a practice that often separates the amateur from the professional in this mindset game. Celebrate small victories.
Which most people don't do.
No, most people only allow themselves to feel good about the enormous grand successes, the million-dollar contract, the promotion. But true, resilient confidence is built in the micro moments.
So you have to consciously acknowledge your courage, your effort.
And your willingness to step forward, even when the outcome isn't perfect.
Why is celebrating the process and not just the outcome so critical?
Because it reinforces the internal belief that you are capable of handling stress and challenge. It's positive feedback looped directly back into your nervous system.
So you shift the internal narrative from, I got lucky and survived that scary thing, to,
I intentionally faced that scary thing, and look, I gained evidence of capability and resilience. This sets the expectation for the next challenge.
that positive reinforcement is essential. Confident people aren't characterized by a lack of fear.
No, they're defined by their learned ability to take action despite the fear. They have accumulated enough evidence in their confidence bank to trust that they will figure things out along the way.
So stop waiting for the right mood, the perfect time, or the ultimate level of self-assurance.
Just take one action today.
Because confidence is always the product of doing.
We've established belief as the foundation and action as the builder. Now let's talk about the force that sustains and amplifies both.
Your attitude.
Your attitude. The sources describe it using the powerful metaphor of a magnet.
It's a perfect metaphor because a magnet isn't passive. It is an active drawing force.
Exactly. Your attitude dictates the quality of what you attract, either pulling opportunities, good people, and resources toward you.
Or actively repelling them. Schwartz places attitude above skill and even luck.
Arguing that success always begins with a positive mental attitude.
The cycle is undeniable, isn't it? The way you think shapes the way you feel, and the way you feel dictates the quality and energy of your actions.
When your attitude is energized, focused, and positive, your actions become powerful, decisive, and persuasive.
But when your attitude is negative, even the most flawlessly constructed plan tends to fail.
Just due to low energy and poor execution.
Yeah.
And think about the environment a positive attitude creates. It generates hope, possibilities, and contagious energy. Positive people are stimulating.
They draw creativity and solutions to them.
Conversely, negativity acts like a drain. It exhausts everyone around you, sucks the energy out of a room, and makes every problem, no matter how small, look disproportionately large.
This all comes down to the power of perspective. Schwartz is very blunt about this.
He is. Life is largely about how you choose to view it. Take two individuals facing the exact same sudden, frustrating setback.
Like a major client canceling a contract.
Right. One sees a catastrophe, a sign that they should quit. The other sees a detour, a necessary market correction, and a chance to pivot to a better client.
The external circumstance is identical.
The difference is the internal attitude, the response that they choose. You rarely control external events, but you possess absolute control over your internal response.
And that response determines whether you use the situation to elevate your understanding and rise, or whether you let the frustration hold you captive. So positive thinking, under this framework, is not about blinding yourself to reality.
No, it's about strategically choosing where to focus your extremely valuable mental energy. It means shifting away from fixation on what you can't control.
And focusing exclusively on what you can. This is empowerment through language.
Precisely. It's about rewiring the neural pathways away from limitation. When facing a complex challenge, the small thinker says, "This is too difficult. I'm stuck."
While the big thinker chooses the language of growth, this is a challenge designed to make me better.
And when experiencing a failure, the small thinker says, "I am a failure."
The big thinker reframes it. I gained valuable data. I learned exactly what doesn't work.
And this isn't just fluffy self-talk. It is strategic mental engineering to override defeatism.
So to make this intentional shift to daily reality, the sources suggest a simple, powerful daily exercise.
Designed to train the mind for positivity.
Yeah.
Start your day before the news, before email, before the deluge of external demands by asking, What's good about today? What possibilities exist?
This is a deliberate daily activation of your reticular activating system.
To seek out possibilities and resources. The more you practice optimism and consciously look for things to be grateful for, the more natural it becomes to see opportunities and solutions instead of just defaulting to the problems.
And the practical outcome of this positive frequency is profound. Positive energy attracts opportunity because the world rewards enthusiasm and capability. Think about hiring decisions, collaborations.
Mentorships. People want to work with those who radiate positive expectation. A winning attitude, as the sources emphasize, doesn't just improve your life.
It turns average abilities into exceptional outcomes.
Because it maximizes the energy you apply to the task.
Therefore, if you want to think big and live big, your attitude must be protected and guarded fiercely, like a finite resource.
It's the lens through which you construct your entire reality, and it acts as the undeniable magnet determining the quality of experiences and people you draw into your sphere.
We now have the philosophical components locked down: belief, action, and attitude.
Okay.
But where does all that highly energized intention go? Schwartz warns us powerfully. Big thinking without clear written goals is just wishful dreaming.
This is where structure and discipline enter the equation.
Right.
Goals function as the critical bridge to reality. They take the vast, ambitious, but abstract idea in your mind and force it into concrete, actionable steps.
They provide structure and direction for that powerful big thought.
Without defined goals, even the most compelling idea will dissipate into the ether of good intentions and procrastination.
In a practical sense, goals act as your personal GPS. They guide your focus and, maybe more importantly, they filter out the infinite distractions that don't align with your destination.
But big thinkers don't set small, safe goals.
Absolutely not. Schwartz's key principle is setting stretching goals.
These are goals that push you far outside your comfort zone, goals that genuinely make you nervous.
That tremor of uncertainty, that feeling of being slightly outmatched.
That's the precise signal that you are operating outside your current limits. And that is the only place where true, transformative growth can occur.
So if your goals don't excite you and scare you, they are simply not big enough to demand the necessary change. Once that ambitious, slightly terrifying goal is set, the path to achieving it requires a specific style of mental processing.
You have to learn to think up instead of think down. Let's explore the difference in those two styles.
Okay.
Thinking down is what most people default to. It means immediately dwelling on the logistical obstacles, generating an inventory of reasons why something can't be done.
Or focusing relentlessly on the limitations of time, money, and resources.
It's a limiting thought process.
And thinking up.
Thinking up bypasses that analysis of limitation almost entirely. The moment the obstacle appears, the big thinker immediately asks, how can it be done?
So they focus on possibilities, solutions, and resources that might be leveraged.
Which is what unlocks massive innovation in creative problem solving. It's a strategic choice to assume the solution exists and that the challenge is simply finding it.
So creative thinking, in this model, is less about innate artistic flair.
And more about strategic problem solving from a fundamentally optimistic perspective.
When you stop obsessing over the obstacle and start obsessing over the possibilities, your brain naturally begins to find routes around the limitations you previously assumed were solid walls.
And the sources provide a brilliant, tangible exercise to activate this creative problem-solving muscle.
Which is?
Take your biggest, scariest goal, write it clearly at the top of a page, and then challenge yourself to list 10 different ways to achieve it.
10.
Yeah.
That number 10 is crucial. Why not 3?
Because the first 3 or 4 ideas will be the obvious, easy, standard operating procedures, the things everyone else would think of.
Ideas 5 through 8 require some focused effort and minor creative leaps.
But ideas 9 and 10, they force you to genuinely think outside your established framework. They compel you to challenge the assumption that there is only one linear path to success.
You are forced to invent.
The expert insight here is that the people who succeed weren't necessarily the ones with the perfect plan A.
They were the ones who had plans B through J.
And they remained agile, kept thinking, kept adjusting, and kept inventing new strategies until something worked. Creative flexibility outmatches rigid, perfect planning every time.
Another powerful goal-setting technique Schwartz highlights is working backward. Visualize the success, the final, desired result in the most vivid detail possible.
And once your mind is anchored firmly in that desired destination, It begins the subconscious process of finding the most efficient routes to get there.
Filtering out distractions and connecting dots you might otherwise miss.
It's like planning a long road trip. You don't start by analyzing every mile of pavement, you set the destination first. Once the destination is established, you can start building the bridge toward it.
And we have to stress that these goals are not reserved exclusively for career or financial metrics.
No, they apply to personal growth, relationship deepening, and health expansion. The core concept is expansion in all areas of your life.
How can you become more, give more, and experience more?
Every time you write down a stretching goal, you are entering into a contract with yourself, not primarily to achieve an external metric, but to grow beyond your current limits in the process of achieving it.
The goal is the bridge, the structure.
The moment you define precisely what you want and start thinking boldly about how to achieve it, the construction of that bridge between your ambitious dream and your current reality begins.
All right, up to this point, we focused heavily on the internal world of the big thinker.
The internal beliefs, attitudes, personal goals.
But the source material makes it abundantly clear that true, lasting success is never a solo venture. Thinking big inherently involves others.
That's a critical transition. Big thinkers possess an intuitive understanding of the power of genuine collaborative relationships. They build connections that don't just add to success, they multiply it.
So thinking big is fundamentally not just about what you accomplish personally.
It's about how you inspire and help others grow along the way.
This shifts the definition of leadership away from titles and authority.
Toward influence and encouragement.
So what defines a real leader in the Schwartz framework?
Real leaders are multipliers. They don't dominate or intimidate. They encourage, they genuinely listen, and they make others feel inherently capable.
They possess that rare vision to see massive, undeveloped potential, where small thinkers often see only flaws, limits, or competition.
Right. Think about the most effective manager or mentor you've ever had. They likely didn't just assign tasks.
No. They made you believe you were capable of achieving something far greater than you had previously thought possible.
That ability to elevate another person's self-belief is the most powerful expression of big thinking in action.
A signature trait of successful big-thinking leaders is respect.
Respect for others' time, opinions, and diversity of thought. This stands in stark contrast to the small thinker, who often resorts to criticism, gossip, and destructive competition.
Which is usually driven by deep-seated insecurity and a scarcity mindset.
Absolutely. Big thinkers operate from an abundance mindset. They collaborate and seek to build bridges where small thinkers try to hoard resources or build walls.
They grasp the profound truth that helping others succeed never, ever takes away from your own success.
It fundamentally expands it. The rising tide lifts all boats, but only if you actively participate in raising the water level.
This needs practical application. How can we, the listeners, operationalize this generous leadership style on a daily basis, even if we don't manage a team?
The sources suggest making genuine appreciation a non-negotiable daily habit.
Compliment sincerely, give credit freely and publicly.
And acknowledge effort and progress, even if the final result isn't perfect yet. Focus on the process of growth, not just the product of achievement.
A few thoughtful, well-placed words of genuine encouragement can completely transform a person's motivation.
Their self-belief, their loyalty. Schwartz defines this as a leadership superpower.
Encouragement.
It costs you nothing but effort, yet it transforms individuals, galvanizes teams, and fosters an environment where big goals are normalized.
The other crucial element is communication hygiene.
Yes. Big thinkers speak positively about others and strictly avoid negative talk or rumor because they understand that words create a pervasive energy that spreads.
When people feel valued, that perceived value returns to the leader and the organization tenfold.
Through trust, goodwill, and discretionary effort.
And the distinction between leadership and title is key here. We exert influence every single day over our family, our peers, our direct reports, our customers.
The question is whether we are leading from a place of fear-demanding compliance, hoarding information, being punitive, or leading from vision.
Inspiring confidence in the possibility of a superior future.
Big thinkers lead from vision. They foster confidence not because they are immune to error, but because they believe that answers, resources, and solutions can always be found collectively.
So the final call to action for this section is to embrace a generous mindset.
Actively support others, invest in their growth, and believe in their potential as fiercely as you believe in your own. When you make it your business to help people rise, you inevitably rise right along with them.
We have dissected the philosophical principles and the outward-facing actions. The final critical challenge is integrating this philosophy into a sustained reality.
Right. Schwartz underscores that success is not built in a single motivational seminar or a single moment of genius.
No, it's built in small, consistent, daily choices. Big thinking must transition from a mindset we visit to a lifestyle we inhabit.
This section focuses on the daily architecture of a high-achieving life. It starts with the most critical habit, designed to reinforce Section 4.
Feed your mind first.
Exactly. The thoughts and input you allow into your mind in the first moments of the day set the tone, the filter, and the expectations for the following 12 hours.
So instead of immediately falling into the scrolling trap consuming negativity, social comparison, or the chaos of the news,
Spend those initial minutes visualizing your goals. This mental rehearsal is a form of active programming.
picture the achievement, feel the accompanying confidence, and internalize the joy of success.
This preemptively programs your brain to look for opportunities and solutions aligned with your goals throughout the day.
Next is the inescapable truth about social dynamics. Curate your circle.
Energy is intensely contagious. If you intentionally surround yourself with people who constantly complain, who criticize every ambitious attempt, or who actively play small,
Their deeply held belief systems will inevitably begin to shrink your own vision.
you have to become ruthless in protecting your mental environment. We need to intentionally seek out and surround ourselves with big thinkers, active dreamers, purposeful doers, and optimists.
Their belief system acts as powerful fuel for your own, continuously challenging your perceived limits and maintaining that crucial positive mental attitude we discussed.
Be deliberate about the company you keep. They are actively shaping your future capacity.
Another cornerstone daily habit is the combination of gratitude and ruthless self-reflection.
Schwartz suggests taking just 5 minutes each evening for a disciplined check-in.
You ask yourself two penetrating questions.
What did I do today that moved me tangibly closer to my goals?
And what single action or thought process can I improve or adjust tomorrow?
That steady, deliberate check-in is the mechanism of accountability. Progress in big thinking is rarely about massive, sudden leaps.
It's about persistent, intentional steps in the correct direction.
This deliberate nightly reflection ensures you maintain momentum and hold yourself accountable to those stretching goals, preventing drift and ensuring continuous learning.
Furthermore, big thinking must permeate every single action, no matter how small or mundane.
It involves thinking big about the quality of your work, how you present yourself, how you communicate, and how you approach even the least glamorous parts of your job.
You have to carry yourself daily with the quiet expectation and presence of the person you intend to become.
The sources define this as the crucial realization that excellence is a habit, not an event.
By consistently giving your absolute best effort, even in small tasks, you create a gravitational pull.
Opportunities, valuable connections, and unexpected lucky breaks gravitate toward individuals who demonstrate persistent commitment to excellence and high personal standards.
Your visible preparation sets the entire stage for those moments of luck.
And the most sustaining habit of all in the long run: never stop learning.
Read widely, listen to challenging, diverse content, and actively engage with ideas that stretch and test your current mental models.
Growth-minded people understand that every new piece of information or insight slightly increases their capacity. They don't simply wait for success to arrive. They prepare for it meticulously by ensuring their minds are continuously growing and expanding.
This deep dive into the magic of thinking big has taken us on a thorough journey, moving from the philosophical commitment of belief to the required architecture of daily action and leadership. Let's quickly consolidate the core takeaways we want you, the listener, to internalize.
It all begins with the unwavering power of belief, which acts as a profound self-fulfilling prophecy.
This belief then empowers the consistent action required to cure the paralyzing mental disease of excusitis.
We learn that your chosen attitude operates as a powerful magnet, dictating the quality of opportunities and relationships you attract.
We saw that big thinking must be structured by setting stretching goals, those goals designed to make you nervous, and requires the constant practice of creative thinking to invent routes around perceived limitations.
And crucially, we found that true success is multiplied through generous leadership that focuses on building up and elevating others.
The overarching message is clear. The magic isn't about being perfectly intelligent, uniquely talented, or having ideal circumstances.
It is about believing fiercely in your ability to learn, adapt, and lead. It's about setting a bold vision for yourself and committing to consistent, focused action every single day to bring that potential into reality.
And as we bring this deep dive to a close, let's connect the idea of thinking big back to the ultimate starting point: imagination.
Every transformative achievement that defines our modern world, every piece of technology, every medical breakthrough, every skyscraper piercing the clouds, it all began as a thought.
A single bold vision in someone's mind that at the time must have sounded impossibly large.
Big thinkers are simply those individuals who possess the radical self-trust to refuse to let small thoughts dictate the course of their future, regardless of the criticism or perceived limits around them.
So here is the final provocative thought we want you to carry forward from this deep dive into David Schwartz's work.
Stop allowing your internal critic to ask, "What is reasonable?"
Instead, begin today by asking, what is possible?
That fundamental shift, that expansion of your mental reality, is precisely where the real magic begins to unfold.